Hello, I'm Louise and I'm here to give some power to, or help to give that power, that divine power within, tap into it, to our, what we'd like to label empaths. Those of us who seem to have been born with too much empathy, and there is such a thing as too much empathy. I can talk about physiological evidence for that, although it's kind of esoteric and I don't know whether the medical profession will buy into it, but I'm having myofascial release, and a yogi is my therapist. He's called Ray Hack. He's actually trademarked now, so he's going to have his book out soon, his modality. And actually, he told me kind of in the centre, sort of on the spine, sort of between the lower and the mid. Okay, so a kind of a little way up the spine, there's this area, and when he sort of pressed it, he said you could feel that's like there was like a tightness, and he said, people don't think there's too much empathy. People have too much empathy, but some people actually do. And this is where it is. And it's like your spine's gone inwards a bit. There's no curvature of the spine, but tissue builds up in a certain place because we have, usually because of those of us who've been grown up in abusive households, the only way we feel we can put up with it and survive it is to try to over empathize with our abusers, and that's why we end up like that, some of us. Another thing, it's in your astrology, it's in my chart, and says that I was born with a level of openness, hardly any boundaries, and I got put somewhere with far too many boundaries in a way, and just being just given a load of shit basically. So if this resonates with you and you find yourself making excuses for people who don't treat you very well, this may help you. This channel may help you. And if that's caused detriment to your health, you want to break those cycles, you want the energy for you now, and you want to start creating fully and reaching your potential as a human on the earth, rather than only sort of carrying around other people who really have their own journey that they need to go on or not, because it's not really our problem, because it's not our life. Our lives are the only lives we really have any responsibility and control over. So that's my introduction, I suppose, to the channel. There are many methods that I've been using, finding, discovering over the course of a lot of years. There's a therapy called Mickle therapy I had for chronic fatigue, which has been very effective, and I'm sort of rediscovering that again at the moment. The tools that I was given then are absolutely so useful and so effective for these issues to do with fatigue, being in what people call now toxic relationships, friendships, situations, not helping ourselves basically, but putting other people and this kind of over the top sense of duty to people that we don't actually have if it's of detriment to our health. Our health comes first. Okay, so we've made that point, and I'll tell you a technique that I found today, which came through. I took a homeopathy remedy because I decided at the moment I can't really see a homeopath for various reasons. I just thought, actually, I'm just going to have a little look and see if I can self-diagnose with something, because I know it's been effective for me in the past. I've had it a couple of times. And I found a remedy that I don't necessarily want to say what it is, because you really have to find your own. And usually with a specialist, because even though people think it's very mild, I found it extremely effective, and I think you've got to know what you're doing with it, and I'm glad I know I found the right thing for me. And it kind of, I felt, which I've had recently quite a lot, is almost like spirit scanning. It's almost like something which Ray, my therapist, my fascial therapist, said, it's like it's like they're pulling up the optical cables to have a look and see what's underneath. And that's been happening to me loads over the last month. And it happened again today with this homeopathy. And different, and it was so deep. It was going this time. Sometimes it's felt quite surface, on parts of my body. This time it was like it was going right inside behind my eyes. I could feel it, and it was kind of a bit achy and a bit like, but I knew what was going on, and I thought, thank whoever is involved with it, because I know you're sorting this out. And even though I was feeling absolutely brilliant yesterday, I just had this thing where I was like, I want to try this homeopathy, and I'm just going to see how it goes. And for the last few days, I've been feeling fantastic, actually, because I actually did my fascial on my arms myself the other day, and it was amazing. I mean, you can Google that and have a look on YouTube about it. And like I say, rayhack.com, have a look at him, because he has his own modality, which is unbelievable and unbelievably painful, I will say that. But there's a shadow healing I discovered while this was going on today. What I will say to you is, if you want to try this, it's deep and it's difficult. If you're ready to start doing some deep shadow work, because it's the only way to really break us out of toxic patterns, is when we start really delving into our own bits that we have really wanted to not look at for various reasons. Today for me, I found there was a time in my life, for me it was at 12 years old, where it was such a source of shame, such a source of a time where I felt the most ashamed. Going into puberty, most people feel that, the most ashamed, the most neglected, that I remember visibly seeing. And it's like I had this school photo kind of imprinted in my brain too, actually, and they were probably from the same year. That, number one, I remember it was to do with me, the uniform I ended up with. I didn't realise how lax my uniform could be, and I ended up with one that was actually too smart, even though it was a time of very serious neglect. That I actually I didn't feel comfortable at all. It was horrible. And so there was that. There was I lived in a freezing house. The heating was never working. Most of the time hot water wasn't working. It was awful, a lot. And I am saying that. I know other people have it worse than me, but it was bloody awful. And I'm allowed to say that now. And I used to be, there's other kids who had it where, yeah, all right, I wasn't locked in a cupboard. But, I allow myself to understand my pain of what was going on now, rather than, we have to, whatever our pain is, we need to connect with it rather than going, somebody else has had it worse. We know that. Again, we're empaths. We've got too much empathy in a way. We need to find our own pain in order to heal, in order for us not to be in these patterns and start to actually do bigger work for the world with the energy and the power that we actually have and the strength that we have to get bigger, brighter and better for the whole world, rather than just dampening our spirits for the sake of one or two people who are not benefiting, and you're not benefiting either. I'll say that now. But Basically, finding this time in my life, for me 11, 12, and I've had it sort of on the tip of my tongue. I've been healing for years, and today it was like, you've really got to look at this time. And I was being shown a lot about this time, and I realised when I saw that picture in my head, I had this recoiling aversion to this poor child. And because of doing so much shadow work, I know, I've connected unconditionally with all aspects of myself, vulnerable selves that I felt very ashamed of, all of these, because it's really hard at first to start to accept these parts of ourselves that we're like, oh, that looks weak, especially if you've had narcissistic parents like I have, weakness and all of that stuff can be very shameful, bring up feelings of shame. And what we need to do is get to the bottom of that shame, actually, and find where we felt the most amount of shame. Because the only way we can stop being in shame-based relationships, which all abusive, toxic relationships are shame-based, we are there to cause ourselves feelings of what I call the opposite of love. I've just actually really discovered that term today. Shame, abandonment shame, betrayal. That, it's not hate that's the opposite of love. Not at all, because hate actually has passion in it. This is like the feeling, which I think we all know, the extreme feelings, maybe to a greater or lesser extent, feelings of abandonment and betrayal, to a very core, visceral feeling that feels, I can only relate it to like feeling like your skin's being ripped off. Very extreme way, but basically it's like a bit of your soul, and they say that every time you feel those things is because a bit of your soul's been taken away. So soul retrieval is very powerful for this work as well. Shamanic work, all shamanic work. So what I found today was locked in grief for that poor 11-year-old child that I needed to connect with. So what I'd say to you, if you're brave enough to start doing this work, something today, this tool, going in bravely, fearlessly, writing it all out. When is a time that you look at yourself and you go, oh God, oh no, even if you feel really sorry, and I hope you do feel really sorry and empathise with that poor person, whoever that was at whatever time, and really go in and really connect and really start loving that person, showing them care. Me and my inner child, who's the younger inner child today, we came together to hug and take care and give, we gave her a wash, a haircut, new clothes. We gave her a lot of kindness, a lot of affection, and allowed her to feel the horror that she was feeling at that time, because I just remember horror really feeling at that time. Let her feel that, because she needs to, because the unconscious, where she was sat, actually gets off on very high extreme feelings. So all that time, she's kind of addicted to that feeling. So all that time, the unconscious has been addicted to that 11-year-old way of being and wanting to get back there, finding relationships that will make her feel like that bereft and that lacking and that opposite of love feeling, that abandonment feeling again. So I would say, please, if you can, again, go back, show love and kindness to that person, that child or that adult at that time, and really try and give some love. And it's a process. So this may be the first time that you've done that, but my God, you're going to see the benefits. You're going to see the benefits, feel the benefits after that. And knowing that shame is just programming, it's trauma, toxic shame. Obviously, the normal shame of killing somebody is the only reason we have shame, really, so we don't do that. Any other shame is usually toxic, because we have connection and love when we're in the union of divine. We don't need shame, because we can just love and be in love. So I would say try and connect with this time, give love, and just give healing, whether you do healing work, light work, or not. Just picture white light and lots of comfort and kindness to this poor person who needs it. And if she doesn't really get it, she's going to keep trying to get it in very funny ways. She, he, they, whatever gender you may be, whichever gender you may be. Please, just start that ball rolling. Even just to look at that person and try and look at them with love is going to be a start. And bring your little inner child in, unless she was the one that you're trying to help. Bring other aspects of you in. Versions of you that you feel very proud of. If you can find and picture someone like that who you think may want to nurture and care for this person, for this aspect. Well, I hope this has helped. Please leave in the comments if you've tried this work, if it's helped you. If there's any more shadow work that you would like to hear and know about, any questions at all, please like, subscribe and share alike. My name's Louise. This is about empowering everyone, but my version of things has been through finding out about codependency and empaths. Empaths can be on the spectrum, not always codependence either, so there's a bit more of a broad spectrum with empaths. It could be quite narcissistic empaths as well, even though there's a lot of empathy there, because I've known some. I mean, I think my dad's one. And they can still be very abusive. So that's the good thing in a way with empaths. It's not so goodies and baddies, because anyone with can turn bad with the right trauma or the wrong trauma, or all kinds of factors why people will end up being abusive. And we all have, and I'm big enough and grown and developed enough to know that I've also been abusive in relationships and found people that I felt I was justified to be abusive, which is a lot of what codependency is about when you find out about it as well, because of you being used to being in toxic relationships. Not consciously, not sadistic consciously, but in the past that has happened, because that is part of the pattern, which is why I'm trying to break it as well, because I don't want to hurt anyone and I don't want anyone to hurt me. So it's all about breaking out of those, and I really hope that's helped. And if you want any more help, please email me. My email's below. Any comments and suggestions as well, and any time you'd like to spend with me, please let me know. Okay, thank you very much. Peace. I'm Louise.